Now, a Jimmy Mathis exclusive, The Stone Zone, featuring Roger Stone, veteran of 30 years in politics and 9 presidential campaigns, including Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump. Here is Jimmy Mathis on WBAL News Radio 1090 and the WBAL app.
Welcome back to the program. Roger Stone, former Donald Trump top advisor and author of More Books Than I Have Read, joins the program. Roger, good morning. How you doing, sir?
Jimmy, great to be with you.
Appreciate it. Third and final debate this Wednesday in Nevada. What does Trump need to do? Got 22 days to the general.
Well, the stakes are very, very high. The race is still in flux. It would be fair to say that Hillary Clinton has a slight but surmountable lead. It's also clear now from the WikiLeaks disclosures that the attack on Trump involving all of these so-called victims was planned as far back as May, which means perhaps they anticipated that the various women victims of Bill Clinton that we've talked about on this show, Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, even Kathy Shelton, victim of Hillary, were going to go public. I'm a little surprised the campaign waited as late as they did. I think that may have been an error, but we'll see on Election Day. Trump has to repeat his previous performance. He has to dominate, and he has to continue to hammer Hillary Clinton on her corruption. Since the mainstream media doesn't want to cover the incredible disclosures of WikiLeaks, and by the way, Jimmy, I say right here and now, this is chicken feet compared to what is coming. Trump may have to give the people a quick refresher on what we've learned in the last week.
Let me ask you a question. You've brought up WikiLeaks extensively on this program, and I'm reading from front page of Politico from 2 days ago. Stone happy to cooperate with FBI on WikiLeaks, Russia hacking probes. So where is this at right now with the FBI?
Yeah, the assertion that I at any time knew advance specifically what WikiLeaks would dump, or that they were going to hack somebody in advance of their hacking them, is completely and totally false. It's based solely on something I said on Twitter back in August, which was Podesta's dealings essentially were going to become public. That's because of my own research, which I published this week at Stone Cold Truth. Mr. Podesta has been money laundering for the Russian mafia. He's been money laundering for the Russians in the Clinton Foundation, and he has been money laundering in connection with illegal arms sales, or I should say military technology sales. If you'll see my piece, none of this comes out of WikiLeaks. None of it is confirmed in WikiLeaks. This is all my own independent research. So I know they'd like to distract from the content of the emails by blaming me. I'm a very partisan guy. Nice try. This ain't Watergate. You're busted. The real problem here is it doesn't matter who leaked these. You're busted. P.S. Assange does not work for the Russians. No evidence of that. There is no evidence that the Russians are going to hack the election. The Republicans, the pathetic Republicans on the Senate Intelligence Committee, giving the Homeland Security Secretary a pass on producing evidence of that. I would subpoena evidence of it. The guys on the Intelligence Committee, the people on the Intelligence Committee, have the rating to see classified documents. If the Homeland Security Secretary can't produce evidence that the Russians plan to hack our election, if this is just a talking point from the Clinton campaign, he ought to be impeached and quickly. Just in both the articles, vote him in the Senate, move him out by Election Day, because it's a fraud, in my opinion.
Now, Roger, you're on your own saying that you're willing to cooperate with the FBI. You're not saying the FBI has reached out to you at this point.
That is correct. I have not heard from them, but if they will, I'm happy to tell them. There's no violation of the law here. Speaking to someone or talking to a third party who's spoken to someone who tells you the mother lode of corruption is coming, and then going on a radio show such as this one and predicting that, that's not a crime. The position of the Democrats is childish. They have nothing. It must distract from the content of the emails because they show enormous criminality by Hillary and her goons, so let's blame Stone. Nice try. My interview with the FBI will be very short. There's nothing to find. I admit that I have an intermediary who's talked to WikiLeaks, and they speak in general terms. You know what they tell me? She's a criminal, and they've got the goods on her, and they're going to come out election or no election.
But hasn't that already... What possibly, Roger, I'm not asking for specifics, but what could Other than what we already know, how much worse can it get? And if it hasn't stuck to this point, why would it stick in the future?
Well, first of all, stick. If in fact she wins, you may have the grounds to remove her before she gets started. Let's look exactly what Assange says. The emails that are coming relate to war, the U.S. election, oil, massive secret surveillance, and there was one other topic that escapes me at the moment. Any of those, he said corruption. Any of those could bear on not only this campaign, but any possibility she has of functioning as a viable president with enough popular support to govern. This first tranche, as you know, heavily implies that Justice Scalia was murdered. Are we going to find out more about that? Because we've now seen the tip of the iceberg. What did Podesta mean when he referred to the wet works? What did he mean by that? Because in intelligence terms, that generally means assassination.
You had this debate Wednesday, Roger. Obviously, the focus is going to be on all these accusations that are coming out against Donald Trump from all these random women going back 35-plus years ago. Does Trump have the ability to own this debate and to pivot to issues that he's done very well with, whether that is immigration, free trade, Obamacare? Does he have the talent, does he have the ability to take control of this debate and own it?
We're going to find out. I mean, only Donald Trump speaks for Donald Trump. He has made some mistakes in recent days, in my opinion. The discussion of stop and frisk, a discussion of what he believes is the innocence of the Central Park Five. Why would you bring these up unless you just don't want any black votes? If you want to signal black voters, do not vote for me, that's the best single way I can think of it. Instead of talking about the economic opportunity that he wants to bring to our inner cities, you bring up these symbols from the past that have no relevance. I think that was a misstep. On the other hand, if he can focus the attack on her, we can already see that they're going to raise these women who, as each day goes by, they become more and more fraudulent. Trump didn't assault any of these women. He didn't act inappropriately with any of these women. It's a MacGuffin. It's a fraud. These women are propped up, and now it's starting to crumble because their connections to the Clintons are being exposed. I understand the Clintons why they're doing this. Bill's a rapist. He bites and violates and exposes himself and assaults women. And Hillary, in real time, has acted as the cleanup agent on those. She's the one who bullies them and threatens them. So we have to have something to counter that. Let's make something up on Donald Trump. I hope we don't get bogged down in that in the entire debate because there's so many different and more important areas to discuss. But, Bill Clinton hanging tough to the Confederate flag. We found that out this week. So don't lecture us about racism, Hillary.
Well, I'm with you on that. And Roger, I can hear, I can hear the frustration in your voice. And when he came out with the remarks he made against, stop, ask, and frisk, I'm sitting there shaking my head. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't need to go down this road. No good comes of this. Have you talked to Donald Trump about this? Obviously, you have a relationship with him, a heavy pre-existing relationship, and you have the ability to talk to him. Have you discussed any of this frustration with him and trying to get him back on point a little bit here, 22 days away?
Well, Jimmy, I assure you, I wish I was debating Hillary Clinton because I don't think it's complicated, and her vulnerabilities and the openings she gives you are so enormous. I suspect the stop and frisk comment is the influence of Rudy Giuliani. Now, Rudy's a friend of mine. I have high regard for him, but in this case, he has a blind spot. We are not relitigating his years as mayor. His years as mayor were extremely successful, but the courts have found stop and frisk unconstitutional. And until it's appealed, and it will never be appealed, that is the ruling of the law. Could we move on and talk about what is causing the crime in our inner cities? Not that we have crime, but what is causing the crime? The hopelessness, the despair, the lack of any possibility of upward mobility and success for the people who live there because of the policies of Barack Obama and the Clintons, the only place they want to feed black people is in a prison cafeteria.
And he should say that. And I'll tell you, look, it depends on what poll you look at, Roger. I'm looking at the LA Times. It's pretty much a dead heat right now. I don't believe any of these accusations, any of the games that are being played right now with all these women that are coming out against Donald Trump on this stuff 35 years ago. I don't think it's landing with female voters. That's the feeling I'm getting, and I could be off point. I don't think women are offended. I don't think women are leaving Trump. I think a lot of these polls are off point, and that's not just wishful thinking. But you need to take control of this debate Wednesday. You've got to make your pitch. You got to control the direction, or we're going to be wasting 90 minutes on all these ridiculous accusations from 35 years ago.
I agree. So I'm not a believer in defend. One of Stone's rules is attack, attack, attack. Counterattack, never defend. I wouldn't defend myself. I would brush them aside with a line and get back to your line of prosecution. I would make two predictions. One, we've yet to have a substantial October surprise. I believe there is one coming. And secondarily, later this week, the entire inner workings of Media Matters for America is going to be exposed to the American people, including the $30 million that they've spent on a campaign to smear me. It's all going to be out there for the public to see. Stay tuned.
Roger, always a pleasure. You can hear the Roger Stone Zone every Sunday on the Jimmy Mathis Show. Roger, also the author of The Clintons' War on Women, Jeb, and the Bush Crime Family, among other books. Great author, all good reads. Roger, always a pleasure. Thank you, my friend.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Rick Vatz, Tyrone Keys in studio, 410-467-WBL. Everybody hang tight. You're listening to the Jimmy Mathis Show on WBL News Radio 1090.